Hello and welcome to the Winter 2025 Fantasy Crashout, where the bar is in hell!
Wait a minute, that sounds bad.
Today we're talking about the cream of the crop, the dog of the shit, the fantasy anime that aired in winter that made you question why you became an anime fan in the first place. And we're talking strictly high fantasy anime. That means no isekai. I'll be talking about those in a different video that is not coming out next week because I learned my lesson. As it turns out, watching 6 different seasons of anime takes a bit of time, but luckily for you, the recap's only gonna last about 10 minutes. And let's kick things off with another stupid title. It's even given the worthless Appraiser class. I'm actually the strongest, and for the record, nobody fucking believes you at this point. It is so stupid and unbelievable to just keep on telling us that, like, the ability to scan any given thing in the universe and figure out all of its properties is a worthless class. Shut the fuck up, anime. But that's the premise that this anime expects us to buy into, as our main character gets treated like shit by the people around him, left to die in the dungeon. He jumps off a cliff to his death, and a tree woman saves him because she wants his wood. You get it? Because it's wood like penis. She and her mom turn him into level 2 super cheap power, holy shit, OP main protagonist level man, and he beats the rest of the dungeon, and then she's like, oh, I got these tree sisters. She's like one of like several sisters that became different parts of one main tree together, and so they go out to find the other pieces of the tree. This shit doesn't make any sense. The rest of the show, they go around and collect the rest of the harem of tree sisters, and who are, aged relative to the size of their tits, apparently, because, like, look at the fucking bazongas on this one. Holy shit. Most of what I remember from this anime is that it was relatively funny, and that made up for how, shitty and cringe the writing was most of the time. It's your standard harem. It's awkward. It's weird. But if you think about it, right, even if he does get the entire harem together, he's really only fucking one tree. I gave it a 6 out of 10 because it was bland and forgettable, but you probably won't regret watching it, at least. Like, you'll probably come out of it going, yeah, alright, but you'll forget about it in 2 weeks, the same way that I did. Next up, let's talk about an anime that pissed me off. And spoiler warning, that is not the last time you are going to hear that phrase in this video. Look, I hate it when an anime is annoying, but I really hate it when an anime is annoying for an arbitrary reason that was completely unnecessary, and in this case, it's in the name. I'm a noble on the brink of ruin, so I might as well try Mastering Magic. Is a show that names all of its episodes with that same convention. I tried doing this thing, I tried doing that thing, I tried to meet a person, I tried to do a thing. He never fucking tries. Across the entire runtime, not once does he ever try. Everything just falls into his lap, Deus Ex Machina style, because he doesn't need to try. In a way, it's like a perfect allegory for what it's like being the upper class, thinking that you're putting in some kind of legitimate effort where you've never made a legitimate effort in your entire life. He doesn't try anything. Everything just automatically happens for him, like, for free. And if you didn't put it in my mind with this whole tries to do X thing or Y thing, I would have just sat there and accepted it. Like, oh yeah, this is just another overpowered protagonist who gives a shit. But no, you said try. You did this, Japan. Anyway, this one is technically an isekai, but I don't think you pick up on that if you just watch the show, at least for most of the runtime, so I'm including it here anyway. Everyone in this show is as dumb as possible at all times. There's a lot of, like, I'm 14 and this is deep lines that are, kind of almost funny to me, but not in a good way. And the translation kept on referring to this water spirit that they're clearly calling an Undine in, the Japanese voiceover. They kept on, subtitling it Windine, and I don't know why, and that pissed me off too. There's just a ton of things pissing me off here. It didn't need to happen. This show tries to do a lot of things, but ultimately doesn't really succeed at any of the things that it tries to do. A little bit of poetic justice there, and I did not intend for that line to be a pun when I initially thought of it. For the record, I gave it a 5 out of 10. It's just, I felt completely neutral about this show. There were moments that were, like, decent, but those are sort of pushed back by the things that were annoying about it. So, I just come out of it feeling neutral. It wasn't good. It wasn't bad. It's just not worth your time. I will say, though, the one highlight is that the ending is so fucking dumb that it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Like, they just want to have, like, a nice little moment, but it comes off as so just astoundingly bad. I have no idea who thought that would be a cool scene to end the show on. Next up, let's talk about an anime that pissed me off. Because I said that I'd say the line again. Whatever. I may be a guild receptionist, but I'll solo any boss to clock out on time. You know, these names get really fucking annoying when you put them all in the one place. This one had so much potential, man. It was a solid setup. This guild receptionist working her 9 to 5. She just wants to clock out at 5, but she never can because adventurers are incompetent, and so she turns out to be pretty strong, goes into dungeons, basically solos bosses. It's a solid premise. And it's got decent art. It looks nice. It should be good. But they did the one thing that they never should have done. They made me understand what it feels like to be a woman. You see, the strongest dude in the strongest guild, clan, group, team, fucking who cares, man? He realizes who she is and starts hounding her to join his party. It's party. I had to check the summary. He starts hounding her to join his party nonstop. And he's so fucking annoying about it. And he's just pressing her over and over again and just not taking no for an answer. And I actually I don't deal with this because nobody presses me. I'm a scary looking dude. But I finally understood, right? Like, oh, like, this is how it feels. Like, God, this guy is so fucking annoying. And as long as they, like, portray him as the bad guy that they were portraying him as at the start, like, this is actually going to be a really interesting and neat take. And I like what they did here. And obviously that's not what happened because you could tell the fucking tone of my voice. Like, if you have any sense of foresight whatsoever based on everything I've said so far, you know this is going downhill. Nope, instead of this guy being the villain, he's the love interest. Instead of us focusing on the things that Alina says that she wants to do with her free time when she is finally away from overtime at work, it ends up being the story of them sort of coming together as like a group in friendship and, her needing to just deal with her emotions about the past and the reason why she's so averse to adventurers in the first place. It was all in her head. She was the one that... fuck. I'm actually angry. Holy shit. This show tells us that the things that were important to our main character didn't actually matter. That she just needed to get over her trauma so she could do the thing that everyone expected her to do. And she is constantly surrounded by these self-righteous douchebags, these self-important assholes that only care about the things that they care about and force her into their situations for their own gain. And she just goes along with it. And the show tells us that that's what she was supposed to do the whole fucking time. It is so fucking frustrating to have that happen after portraying that sense of what it's like to be hounded by these people nonstop over and over again, feeling like somewhat helpless, like they're just fucking dangling shit over you and forcing you into situations that you don't want to be in. It is so fucking frustrating to pull that off so well and then to just say, but it was all in her head and she was the issue. Fuck you. I gave it a 4 out of 10 and that's fucking crazy because without any of the issues that I was talking about here, it could have been like a 7. But it's just like, look, the quality is high. I understand that, but it's offensive. It's offensive in that it just treats this character like shit, basically. The world is essentially treating her like shit for wanting to do the things that she wants to do. And that sucks balls. Next up, we're talking about yet another case of me not understanding the anime community. It's Farmagia, which has a 5.67 on my anime list right now. And I thought that it was going to be terrible based on that. I was like, oh yeah, this is going to be a real stinker. No, not at all. This is an anime adaptation of a video game where the character designs were done by Mashima Hiro, who is the author of Fairy Tail. So if everything looks like Fairy Tail, that's because everything he draws looks like Fairy Tail. I could understand people not liking this that much if they didn't understand what it was trying to be. I think this is just a massive homage to old school anime. That's what it feels like. It feels like it's almost like a tribute to Digimon and a lot of the other anime that were coming out back in the day. Even the opening is like this sort of old school rock and roll track that sounds like it came out in the 90s. And I specifically mentioned Digimon because it definitely feels like it has a Digimon vibe to it. The monsters that they fight with are grown as like plants and I'm sure it makes sense in the video game, but they plant the monsters, they grow up, and they can fight together. The monsters of the same type can come together to form a bigger version of that monster, and then two different monsters can fuse together to form a completely different monster. It's a power system that they completely focused on, which is a good thing. If you remember for the noble one from this video, if you remember, like, you have fucking amnesia. If you remember that section, look, Noble tried to do like a million things. One of them was having creatures in the show. And while the creatures from that Noble show were neat, they were sort of briefly looked at. They didn't spend a lot of time with them, whereas this show is all about the little monsters. They all get their little Digivolve moment in the sun, and overall it's just a good time, and it's well contained too. This is 12 episodes, and you'll never have to worry about a season 2. They might make one, but you won't have to worry about it. Overall, I gave Farmagia a solid 7 out of 10. It's pretty unshakable. It's not an 8 and it's not a 6. It feels like it's a little bit of a kid's show in that, you know, it feels like an homage to older kids shows, but it never feels like offensively stupid. It doesn't feel like a kid's show that you couldn't watch and enjoy. So watch it and enjoy it, fucker. Next up is Bogus Skill Fruitmaster. There's a rest of the title, but I don't want to say it because I'm sick and that's making me moody. The first half of Fruitmaster makes you think that it's just going to be another bland fantasy anime, but then you watch the second half and you realize that it's going to be annoying too. The characters have a lot of moralizing moments that just sort of insist upon themselves without really validating anything that they say at all. As it turns out, doing the right thing doesn't justify your character being dumb as fuck. Everyone is stupid and nothing makes sense, so the plot can just go wherever the fuck it wants to without justifying itself at all. The plot, you ask? Well, it's simple. There's fruits, and people can only eat one of them unless you get Fruitmaster, and then you can eat all of them like our main character does. And then he gets all the skills and becomes super OP. Wow. Don't get me wrong, there's some cool stuff that happens, you know, at different times in the show, but most of the time it doesn't actually make any sense. There's no precedent for it happening, and there's no explanation whatsoever. It's just like, oh, my power can turn into a lion now. It's like, all right, well, it could have been a 6 out of 10 if it wasn't annoying, but it is, so I gave it a 5. The stuff that happens in the show is kind of neat, you know, sometimes, but I don't know why I'm defending it. Yeah, the 3 that I'm not recommending in this video, I'm really not recommending. I don't think anybody should watch this or the Noble one, or maybe you should watch the Guild Overtime one just to see if other people feel the same way as I do about how frustrating it was, but like this one, yeah, it's not good. Skip it. 5 anime down and 1 to go, and even though I am dizzy and feel like I am about to pass out every time I stop recording because I am speaking too much and breathing too little, this is the one show that I actually wanted to talk about on this list, so I'm finishing this fucking recording. Yet again, I don't understand the anime community. On one hand, they'll talk about how anime is supposed to push the envelope, and that's why the anime about a guy whose wife reincarnates as an elementary schooler and moves in with him is a work of art. And meanwhile, Beheneko is sitting at a 5.7 on Mal, I assume solely because of its exploitative nature. If you don't like titties, just say so, man, but don't downvote the anime just because you saw a nipple and panicked. This show is kind of reminiscent of Ishizoku reviewers in that it is excessively sexual, but, you know, at moments it's also really fucking gay, which is kind of nice. You know, you'll get a show like High School Double D and it's just like, oh, look at all the women and the boobs and the whoa, or like High School of the Dead, that I was literally thinking of High School of the Dead when they have the bullet go through the God, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, most of the time that's what anime goes for, but it's nice when a show like this is just like, it's not just the women, we are fucking crazy. We are just absolute freaks and we're going to display it all. I mean, to begin with, this elf really wants to fuck this cat. And you think I'm like exaggerating or just like, oh no, they're just like really sexual scenes that they happen to be in. No, she genuinely wants to fuck the cat and she's not the only one. And look, I wish I could tell you guys that the anime about a girl that wants to fuck her cat is not good, but unfortunately, it is the best anime that I've referenced in this video. But to be fair, that bar is not very high. In order to be the best anime referenced in this video, they only needed to do two things. One, they told a coherent story. It wasn't perfect the whole way through. Some of the episodes at the end were pretty weak in my opinion, and I thought they did the small things a lot better than the big things in the story, but it was good enough. And two, it was fucking hysterical. I was cracking up for a lot of the moments, the bits in this show. And in fact, here's one scene that I found, like, I had to rewatch this like 5 times. Now, not all of the humor in this show is quite that good. There's a lot of lowbrow humor here. I mean, the elf literally calls her cat Balls. That's what Tama means. So, like, she nicknames her cat Balls from the start. If I had recognized that from that moment, I would have realized that the lowbrow humor was coming, and it definitely came. That is a specific choice of words. You'll realize when you get there. The characters were a little bit hot and cold for me, but when they were good, they were great. Any moment that Anna was on screen was better, and Stella was also fantastic. The opening and ending songs were great too. I listened to them both multiple times. If this show has one flaw, I would say it's just the fact that it makes you tired, you know? Because every single episode has like a bathtub scene, and you constantly go through this cycle of like a neutral state to bricked up. I want to give this show a bit more credit as an exploitation anime, but really it's just a fantasy. And in those terms, at best, it's like a 7 out of 10. There are some low moments, but there are some highs that are funny enough that I wouldn't mind coming back to a show like this. That's it for this week's episode of Binging Last Season. Also, this was an episode of Binging Last Season. I didn't do the normal intro, and I just realized I forgot to say that across the rest of the video. I'm tired and sick and probably going to go curl up in a ball and sleep, so this video will be coming out later on Friday than it usually does, but you can expect, well, by the time you're hearing this message, you will have already seen the video. I'm tired, man.